Well, a plane load of passengers have had the fright of their life after their flight was forced to make a terrifying emergency landing. The plane leaving Brisbane Airport was in the air for just 40 minutes before those on board were told the brakes were locked in place and the aircraft had to turn around. Then they were sitting on the plane and heard this message. Much to the relief of the travellers, the plane did touch down safely after what they described as a horrifying experience. Former Qantas pilot and head of flight technical David Oliver joins us now. Great to have you with us. I'm not going to lie, I am a scared flyer at the best of times. This is absolutely terrifying.
Yes, good morning, Shervo. Look, the likelihood of the aircraft parking brake actually being set in flight is next to zero. There are multiple system features that prevent that from happening. The pilots would have been aware that there are those protections in place, but having said that, pilots are trained that you just can't ignore any warning or an alert just because you think it's invalid. So they did the right thing in preparing both ground staff and the cabin and the cabin crew for the emergency landing. But the likelihood of it actually occurring would have been very low. You look at all the number of flights that occur around the world on any particular day, tens of thousands, and emergency landings are next to zero.
We heard from the tower that they were preparing on the tarmac for that plane to be disabled as it did land. I mean, have we averted something pretty horrific here?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, the pilots can't ignore the warning, so they had to prepare for the worst case, which in this instance would have been that the wheels would not have spun up on landing if the aircraft parking brake had actually been set. And if the wheels had been locked on landing, then the tyres would have burst and the aircraft would have run out on the wheel rims. So it was essential that the ground emergency services team were in position just in case that happened.
Geez, it sounds like we've come very close to averting a horrible incident, doesn't it? We saw the concern on the passengers' faces in that plane. I mean, should this be concerning for people travelling, or should it reassure them that these protocols are in place for a reason?
I think it should reassure the travelling public that the procedures are in place. The cabin crew did a brilliant job in preparing the cabin for landing. I mean, most crew go through their whole aviation careers and never are put in a situation of have to prepare for an emergency landing. And when it does occur, you rely on your training, and in this case, the cabin crew, you could hear through the announcements, were making the correct calls, the procedures that they'd been trained to do in what was obviously for them also a very stressful situation.
How important is it for passengers to pay attention to the safety briefing before takeoff?
Well, absolutely, and I think we've seen this before where everyone is warned not to to keep their seatbelts fastened whenever they're seated, but people tend to ignore that. So following the safety briefings is essential for safe flight, for the safety of the individuals concerned.
Yeah, we get lost in our phones, don't we, these days? David Oliver, appreciate your time.